Webcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, I'm Peter Deacon from Evosys' Innovation Division, and I'd like to start by welcoming you all to our first in a series of innovation webcasts, Breaking HR Free. Today we're going to be discussing technology innovation in the HCM HR arena and how it can be used to accelerate your digital transformation journey, and we'll be demonstrating Evosys-based solutions that enable our clients to drive significant business benefits and process efficiencies. Before we get started, I'd like to spend a brief amount of time just giving you an overview of Evosys, who we are and what we do. So, Evosys are a global platinum partner in the Oracle application space, delivering solutions such as Fusion HCM, ERP, Payroll, and the Oracle E-Business Suite set of applications. You may be aware that we were recently awarded the 2019 Oracle HCM Global Partner of the Year Award at Oracle Open World, and that really does cement us as the leader of HCM solutions within the Oracle ecosystem. We've got approximately 1,200 customers, 830 plus in the HCM HR space, and we're delivering solutions across 30 different countries around the world. With that, then, we have specializations in multiple pillars, including HCM, which is the purpose of today's webcast, but it's also within various different industries, whether that be local government, construction, hospitality, healthcare, etc. So we truly do cover the length and breadth of the world and the length and breadth of various different industry verticals. I'm going to stop at that point. I'm going to hand over to Tracy Bishop, who's your presenter today. And just to say, there will be an opportunity to ask questions if you could use the chat box within the webcast software, and I'll read out those questions at the end, and we'll have one of our specialists answer them as we go along. So thank you very much for attending, and I'll pass over to Tracy.
Okay, thanks Pete, that's great. So my name's Tracy Bishop. I work for Evosys. I've been working with Oracle products for many, many years now, and before that I worked in back office business, looking after HCM, payroll and financials activities. So lots of experience of how things have gone over the years. This webinar today is really for you if you have, for example, a HR department and you're worried about them having a heavy admin load, trying to manage the value-added activities versus all that admin that has to go on. And that might be just processing files and content and maintaining transactions and things in the system. It might be providing first-line support to various teams across the business. It's also for you if you want to engage and inspire your employees from the moment they come on board right the way through their journey with your organisation and make it as good as it possibly can be. Those first engagements, having those being successful, easy, can make a big difference in how somebody feels about the organisation they're working for. Also, of course, if you want your HR team to be focusing on more value-added activity, driving change in the business, leading that cultural change and that modernisation and showing how it can be done. Or if you're trying to support all those frontline managers you have out there and you want them to find it easy to work with the HR processes that you have in place. Now, Pete talked a little bit about Evosys. I'm not going to linger too much on this slide, but this just gives a bit of background as to the sort of things that we do here. So it's not just about very deep database type technology. We are very involved in applications, but we also do things like infrastructure activities. We look after a lot of implementations of analytics, data warehousing and so on, helping people really get the best out of the information that they're building up within their businesses. We also do lots of innovation things around the Internet of Things. So from a HCM perspective, that might help with things like health and safety, where you've got connected workers in place, or you're trying to track where people are and make sure that they're safe and sound, that they're not going into any dangerous areas. And also, we're getting very involved in some of the artificial intelligence activities, and that's where we're going to be focusing today. So there's a whole range of these. And as a business user, I certainly feel quite bombarded sometimes with all these new technologies that are coming at me, and it's trying to make sense of them all. How do they fit in? What can they do for us? And so on. So today, what we're going to do, we're just going to focus really on a couple of these. It's about intelligent bots, so otherwise known as chatbots or digital assistants, and also robotic process automation. And I'm going to talk you through those two and how we've seen that they can really help businesses, especially around the HCM area. So just back to the state of play today. When I was preparing for this webinar, I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go and have a look and see what sort of job adverts are out there today for a typical HR administrator. And these were just some in my local area that came up when I did my normal Google search. And if you just read through these, I'm not going to read all the details, but you can see for an administrator, there is so much manual work. Even if you've got the latest and greatest integrated HCM and ERP systems in place, those will deal with the processes that fit within those applications. Beyond that, your teams are going to be going from one system to the other using paper-based processes and then having to link those into the applications. They're going to be working with multiple systems, typically, in any organisation. And that's what starts to drive a lot of this manual work and repetitive work that we see going on in the business. So this poor person here in this first one, when they get the job, they'll be doing lots of transactional admin activity and updating employee records, issuing references, sending out letters, providing support and queries from managers and staff. That can occupy a whole team of people in a HR department. And then this person down here, when they get the job, they again are going to be handling lots of queries, writing and producing all sorts of support documents, processing admin across the group, maintaining records, filing, all of those things that need to happen to make the HR department, the payroll department work, tick over, do everything effectively, make sure people are getting paid, make sure they're supported in the way they need to be. So what could help with that? Well, there's lots of external surveys out there that you can look at and get a feel for where things are going. So this recent Forrester survey said, well, 85% of customer interactions within enterprise are going to go to software robots in 5 years' time. So that is setting the expectation with your workforce that they are going to be able to engage digitally with other departments across the business. CEOs are already looking to expand their AI workforce, can't get my words out, their use of robots in the business. So when it comes to expanding the workforce, do they invest in real people? Are they the best thing to do the job or the best resource to do the job? Or should they look at robots? Because if you have a robot, it can scale up and up and up and up and up. So maybe that helps with especially growing businesses or businesses that are facing more and more pressures. This McKinsey analysis also shows some of the areas where these new technologies can really help with change. So you can see at the top more of the activities, the strategy setting activities, they will have less suitable technologies. But when we look at payroll adjustments, record keeping, benefits administration, sending out documents, all of that sort of thing can have quite a lot of areas where technology really can help, and a lot of automation can come in and start to bring all those systems together so that people aren't being servants to the systems. They can actually get away from it and do more value-added activities. And that can have quite an impact. So just looking at what is possible now with the technologies we have, that could impact HR and payroll by reducing activities or effort by 22%. So that is a day out of everybody's week in the department. Think about what you could do if everybody had an extra day. So let's get into a little bit more of the detail of what we're talking about today. So what I want to talk you through first of all is robotic process automation, or RPA. And this is really where we're starting to automate a lot of those tedious activities that people have to do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's keying stuff into a system, whether it's having to analyze an email, pull information from the email, drop it in somewhere else. There are lots and lots of these activities in play. And what is RPA? If you've got to go back to the business now and talk about it and tell them, yes, this is a thing that's really going to help us, what can you say about it? Well, it really means that a HR or a payroll department can reduce the manual steps and activity that is taking up so much time in those repetitive manual activities. And as I said, it might be payroll adjustments, onboarding a new member of staff, calculating benefits, adjusting benefits and so on, sending out letters, doing recruitment, all sorts of things around the HR department and the payroll teams. And this technology basically mimics what those people are doing and allows programs to communicate with each other and carry out those activities from end to end without human intervention. So it's really taking away the drudgery that can happen. Now, as I said at the start, I'm a business user, and there have been lots of new technologies that have come along over the past few years, and you can get bombarded with acronym after acronym. So I thought what I'd do is just put a little bit in here about how robotic process automation compares to some of those other terms we hear. So AI, artificial intelligence, or ML, machine learning. So RPA, if we break it down, robotic process automation is the doing bit. It's very much a robot that can mimic human actions, not having to think about them, not having to learn anything from them, just doing them. So that is what RPA does. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are where it's looking much more at the data, the trends, the patterns, and is starting to learn and think and drive improvements in processes as things are going through. And if you think about technology, there are lots and lots of technologies out there, and there is no one thing that is ever going to replace a human. And no one thing is ever going to replace more than a tiny, tiny percentage of what a human does. But we can take these little bits of things, and if we segment things down and think about the individual things that it can do, that is where we can start to look at ways that it can help us improve activities within our businesses. So RPA, it's very much process driven. It's all about repeating and carrying out activity after activity and just launching something based on a trigger, an email, something that happens in a system, taking it then right the way through and making sure it's done without getting tired, without errors, without getting distracted, and all the things that can happen. And it's great where you are working in organizations where you've got a great management team and that frontline management layer who are really good at looking at, oh, that's a really good process here, we can make that robust, we can make it consistent. Where they are doing that and improving the business, that is where you can start to look at RPA as a way to maybe take out some of the administrative activities within those processes. So it really starts to leverage the skills and the innovation that your managers are bringing in to add value to your business. There are various tools out there that will achieve this. So in Evosys, we use a tool called UiPath, which is a great tool, very quick to deploy, very quick to get going and start getting returns. So we use that on top of our Oracle applications and technology to really drive things through. And when we look at how those improvements can come about, well, if we just look at typical costs of manual activities within an organisation at the minute, they can actually cost a company or an organisation up to 20% in lost revenue per year due to inefficiencies. So that might mean that you can't process as many customer orders as you would like to. It might mean that your turnaround time on orders or deliveries is slower than you would like it to be. It might mean that it takes you longer to onboard and recruit a new member of staff than you would like. There are also other costs. So what about user-generated errors that you then need to go and rework and correct and put right? And the further downstream you get with those activities, the more costly it is to do that rework. And then, of course, you can get lots of mistakes just in error keying. And it also means that you do get a lack of collaboration. Everybody's working in their own silo. Everybody is tied to their laptop or their PC and almost has blinkers onto what they're doing, rather than being able to raise their head up and really think about how they could add value and engage more within the business and collaborate with their team members. So there are lots and lots of opportunities for robotic process automation and the innovation within there. Some of the ones that we are seeing around HCM and payroll, for example, are, well, for payroll, making corrections, adding in ad hoc adjustments that might come through based on an email, calculating bonus payments, calculating adjustments, adding new users to the system, new employees, and getting everything in place. Recruitment is a really interesting area. How much time do your recruitment teams at the minute spend just searching for candidates? And once they've found those candidates, what process do they have to go through to actually then send those out to maybe the frontline managers who need those staff, maybe to get it reviewed, maybe to make a contact with those candidates and so on. There is lots and lots of manual work that typically goes on, even when you've got a great integrated system which is taking everything through from recruitment through to the onboarding process and so on. There is still a lot that happens outside of systems at the minute. We can also consider things like benefits. You know, you've got new employees coming on, people's circumstances change, so they want to change their benefits. If they leave, what do you do about that, and so on. So there are lots of opportunities there. And I've put in here as well management administration. So this isn't necessarily things that the payroll team are doing, but say if you take on a new member of staff as a frontline manager, what do you have to do, or what does the organisation have to do to get that member of staff up and running in the first few days? How many systems do we need to get them registered on? How many things do we need to order for them to do their job? How many interactions do we need to undertake with various parts of the business to get them up and running? If you just think about that, for each new employee that a frontline manager takes on, that can easily take up a day or even more of their time just to get those basic functions done, whereas they could all be automated, batched as a sequence of things that can be done, and off you go. Okay, so these just give you a few ideas of how robotic process automation can be used. And people now, organisations are starting to look at this, look at how they can use it. So we're working with various organisations to help them drive specific efficiencies in the business. And the great thing with RPA is that you can start small. You don't have to do some great big all-encompassing implementation. You can pick off individual activities, test it out, see if you're getting the benefits, work out the ROI, and then look for other areas where you can do that. So it's a great way to just keep making iterative improvements. So what I'm going to do now is a little bit of a demo of RPA. I'm going to do two things. We're going to have a look at how, if a user of a system is going on holiday and they are responsible, say, for approvals, how they might make sure that the vacation rules are put in place so any approvals just don't sit in their inbox until they come back. Now, depending on how you configure your back office systems, that may be taken care of automatically, or they might just have to check a box somewhere. But in many cases, that's not the case, and it's a two-step process. First, they book their leave, and then they have to go and work out the vacation rules that they're going to apply. And secondly, let's have a look at how we can look at not only internal systems, and that could be Oracle applications and so on, but also how we can go to external systems to just do a search, say, for new candidates for a job. Now, it's quite interesting to demonstrate RPA, and I'm just going to do it by showing you a couple of little videos. Now, it's a bit of a leap of faith when you're watching this from the outside, because all you are seeing is keystrokes happening as if it was a person doing it. But it's actually not a person doing it, it is the RPA tool doing it for itself. It is literally mimicking what the user would do and taking it right the way through the process. So bear that in mind, get that mindset in your heads ready for these little videos now, and I'll just show you. They're quite quick, so there's not too much to focus on, but we'll just walk through what each of them does. Okay, so I'll just go to my desktop. Hold on a second. Don't want to go there, don't want to go there. There we are. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at that vacation rules one. So if I kick this off, and you should see my screen now, signing into Oracle applications. So in this particular case, we have a user who wants to go on holiday, and what they want to do is then make sure they've got the vacation roles in place. So it's Hermione Granger, you remember from Harry Potter. I always knew she'd end up in management. She was very forthright. So there we are. There she is. She's got to do some approvals, adjustments before she can go on holiday. So this is now the RPA tool doing this. The RPA tool has logged in. Here's Hermione. And now it's going to go through and just enter the vacation rules within the system. So this is within Fusion Applications, Oracle Cloud. So it logged into Oracle Cloud automatically, and now off it goes. It's actually in the workflow part, which is lovely, fine if you go into that on a regular basis. But if it's not something you do day to day, then you probably don't want to be going in here. You've got to think about it a little bit more. Okay, so it's just going to go through, make sure all the right rules are in place for each step of her leave and process it through. And it's doing that just based on the leave that she's input into HR directly. So the system has automatically gone and fetched that interaction, and it's now pulling it through. And that's why it's doing it on a day-by-day basis. It's just going through the process, churning through what it needs to do and processing it in the system right the way through, and that's it, completed. So Hermione hasn't had to go in there at all. All she's done is enter her leave, and this bit has been taken care of automatically, all seamlessly without her needing to worry about it. Okay, so that's one. And as you can see, it was very quick. Nothing to worry about there. Let's see if I can get out of that one. And then the other one, now let's go and do something external. So what we're going to do here is we're searching for some candidates. Oh, hold on a moment. Let's just get rid of this sound. There we go. Okay. So in this one, what the system is doing, we're just showing a little bit of UiPath to start with to show where this is set up. And then we will see what happens as it automatically on its own goes into LinkedIn and does a search for some candidates for us. So all we're doing here is setting up the rules of what we want to do, and then off it goes. So it's setting up everything that we need within the system, and it's quite easy to navigate through and use. Nothing too unintuitive. Oh, I've stopped it there accidentally. There we go. So off it goes, traveling through, and it's going to go over to LinkedIn. Kicking off the processes. And then here we are, it launches LinkedIn, logs in, and here we're just using a normal user ID that we have. You probably have a dummy one or something like that. And then within here, it's going to go and do that search for us. So straight away, automatically, it's going to go and create that search, see who it can find within the system and within LinkedIn who might be suitable candidate based on the rules that we've set and the criteria that we want. So now it pulls back a few RPA consultants that we're looking for there. We might want to set some more criteria. So it's automatically doing that for us based on what we set up in the RPA path tool, the location, applying those, and it's filtering down that search, pulling it all together for us. And then once it has that search, what it does is drop it into an Excel file in this particular case. And from there on, we can decide what we want to do with that. So we could extend this particular process in RPA, so that then sends it out to maybe a manager, or it sends out some introductory notes or letters or messages on LinkedIn to those people to ask them if they'd be interested. Whatever we want to do, we can build into that process. So it's really simple, really quick to use. So that just gives you an idea of what you can do with RPA. Okay, let's close those down, go back to the presentation. Okay, so that's one aspect. The other aspect I wanted to touch on today was chatbots, digital assistants, intelligent bots, whatever you want to call them. And there are various types of bots that are available. So you can have simple chatbots, which just provide very quick answers to common questions, and they're just looking for static data and providing responses. Or you can have more intelligent bots that are more deeply linked into your back office applications. So they can do things for your customers, for your suppliers, for your employees in a more interactive way based on the content that's in there and based on any rules that you want to set up within them to help them interact. And again, the value of these is, increasing all the time. They are very responsive. So all of those queries we saw in those job adverts at the start, where people are providing frontline support, maybe to new candidates, maybe to employees, a chatbot can respond almost instantly to any of those questions. Now, obviously, once it gets beyond a certain level, it's going to get a bit more advanced, and it might then need to route it through to a person, and that's where you can have them quite closely linked with the actual teams who can provide that added value at the right point. But the chatbots are taking away those tiny queries, those little things that aren't going to go anywhere, dealing with things, but helping people feel like they are engaging with your organization effectively. They are getting the support they want. They're not on a phone line waiting for 15 minutes to come through a queue. Also, it can increase the knowledge around your organisation, so it can help provide guidance to your managers. It can assist employees with questions. So if they are new, they want to know something about policies, if they're going into a new area, doing something that they only do occasionally, all of those sorts of things can be supported with chatbots. And also, it's a case of how are people becoming used to engaging with bots like this on a regular basis in their day-to-day lives. If you see younger employees now, they're far more comfortable with just text. They don't really talk to each other, but they might interact with a bot. My daughter had a friend staying over a couple of weeks ago, and when they woke up, I heard the friend say, "Oh, Alexa, what time is it?" You know, they automatically just use those tools. They're very comfortable with them and expect them in any self-service functions and activities. So again, from a cultural point of view, from the point of view of how employees and customers engage with your organization, it helps get that feeling of modernization, of moving forward, continuous improvement out there, and helping people feel like they want to engage with your business or organization. And they are ever evolving too. So the first ones were quite basic and so on, but now things are getting much more advanced, providing more information, being able to do more things for the employees when those queries come through, and really linking into the processes that you have within your back office applications. And of course, in all of this, what happens to the employees who would have dealt with these queries beforehand? So again, looking at your HCM team or your payroll team, what can they be doing instead? Well, whenever I go to a client site and I go and see the payroll team, they are generally in red alert mode most of the time. They are constantly trying to keep up with the level of demand, of activity. They're making sure that things aren't going wrong. They are constantly switched on, making sure everything is happening as it should be. Things like chatbots allow them to just raise their head up a little bit from that red alert situation, take a step back and maybe do things that are more meaningful, be more supportive to management, introduce new initiatives, new ways of working, drive things through, grow the business and the organization in a positive way. So it's really allowing people to do the things that they are best at, rather than having them be, as I said before, servants to the laptops and computers that are in front of them. I saw a job advert the other day actually, and one of the things it said in there is you will be sat in front of a desk for 80% of your time. And I thought, oh, somebody's actually called that out and told us what we're going to be doing. You don't usually get that, but that actually does happen an awful lot. And this gives people a chance to maybe walk about a bit more and actually interact with their colleagues and make more effective progress in the workplace. And of course, interacting with chatbots can happen in many different ways. And, you know, we see lots of tools out there for doing this now. And I think everybody gets comfortable with their own particular way of doing it, depending maybe on what technology they've got in the home, what they use on their phone and so on. So it might be Siri, it might be Alexa or Google Assistant, maybe Facebook Messenger and so on, or some of the workplace chat areas such as Slack, Hangouts, etc. All of those can link into chatbots. So it isn't the case that you've got to go into an application to use a chatbot, you've got to go to a certain place. You can use them from wherever you're comfortable with using them. But also, if you are within the applications, for example, Oracle Cloud or something like that, then you can have them embedded within there. And Oracle Cloud certainly does come with a whole range of embedded digital assistants now. So as Evosys, we can implement those for you if you want to use those, or we can take things to the next level and look at where you don't have a standard one from Oracle and you want something a little bit different to support the secret sauce of your business, how you interact, how you make yourself special to your customers and employees. So again, now I'm going to do a quick demo, and again it's going to be a video, just because it's a lot easier to do that on a webinar, especially when you're using different tools and techniques and so on. It takes away a little bit of the internet risk and so on. So what we're going to do now is have a look at how a chatbot can actually help someone with doing something where they need to interact with the HCM application. So this is something that we've built for a number of customers so that they can make things a lot easier for their employees, and employees haven't got to keep going into the system. They can just do things wherever they want, and that can be extended so you can then get a consistent user interface, a consistent interaction with the chatbots, the digital assistants that people get used to using for different things, so they haven't got to remember to go here for this, somewhere else for that, and so on. So let's have a look then. Again, we'll just dip down to my desktop and get the little video. So we're going to see how they can book some leave, check their balance, make sure that's all going through. There we go. So this one was done on a phone using Google Assistant. Okay, so first of all, we go and say we want to talk to the HCM buddy, and that takes us directly here. We get a little bit of an interaction back, and that may be spoken to you or it may be written depending on how you prefer to interact. And straight away it's giving us some prompts of things that we can do within the system. So these are common ones, so what's my leave balance and so on. So first of all, I am going to ask, what is my leave balance? And it comes back and tells me all the details of what I've got. Now, this is great. For me, I used to keep a note in the back of my book so I could check any time instead of having to look on the system. So this is great. I would have used this all the time. So straight away, I could see what I've got. So now I can decide if I want to check what leaves I've actually booked in the future, or maybe then go and book some. So I can see, oh yeah, I've already got some booked. And of course, if we're using this in conjunction with RPA in that way that we saw earlier, once I book these leaves on the system, then it would have automatically created those vacation rules. So we're using those two different technologies to support different parts of the activity. So off we go. And now I'm going to book some more holiday. Oh, yes. I'm thinking about Christmas and New Year, so let's just make sure I've got everything I want. 30th of December, yes, let's just have a couple of days there. And I could be speaking this, or I can type it in. It does even manage my Staffordshire accent, so that's great. Annual leave, it checks that it's picked up the right details. Yes, I'm happy with that. Checked what sort of leave I want as well, depending on what parameters and options we've got set up in the HR system. And this has now been applied. It's updated the balances, it's done everything I need it to do without me having to touch the system, without me having to worry about where do I go, can I remember my sign-on, anything like that. So it's brilliant, especially for more occasional users of the system. So that gives you an idea, just one example of what we can do with chatbots, but there are lots and lots of examples of where we can use this. And as I say, Oracle is providing more and more of these as options that you can take if you're deploying Oracle Cloud, or we can provide all the other ones that, as I say, you might not have out of the box, but you think would be a great idea for your particular organization. Okay, so moving on then. So I thought it might be interesting to go back to those job adverts and think about how things might change when we see job adverts in the future. So for this one, instead of being the first point of contact, you will now be the second point of contact. So a lot of those low value interactions, important for the person who's asking, but not so important for the organization, will be taken care of. You're going to be providing more advanced support and advice to the managers and staff instead of basic stuff. And then some things could go all together. That's updating of employee records, issuing letters and references, and all of that sort of thing could be handled by RPA. And then for this job here, well, I looked at it and I thought, well, most of that could go. It could all go, and we might find that we have something like this as a job advert instead. Handling exceptions and queries, become a candidate and employee advocate, make people feel good about working for the business, improve the experience of candidates so they really, really want to work for you, make it a great experience for employees, the people who are actually doing the hiring, those frontline managers, and so on. And then just making sure that all the exceptions are dealt with, that the system and the tools and technology aren't going to be able to handle, and really adding value to the business. And I've put down here a few next steps of things that you can do. So if any of this interests you, which I hope it does, because I really do think that it can make a step change in the way that you're deploying applications, the way that you're doing things across the organisations at the moment, then please make an appointment, come and meet with us. We'd love to talk to you about it some more. Look and see within your organisation some little niche things that you might be able to pick off that would be good examples to try out and really start to improve your efficiency. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Pete to see if we've got any questions. We've also got one of our innovation gurus on the line, Darval, so we've got somebody who can really help to answer any tricky questions if you put any our way. Pete?
Thank you, Tracy. Hopefully people have found that extremely informative. I've got several questions, Tracy, so I'll start with the easy one. It's a relatively standard one, which is, will we be making the slides available at the end of the presentation? And I can answer that one myself. The answer is going to be yes.
Absolutely.
We'll be sending a link with the slide and the recording of the presentation as well. So not only do you get the slides, but you get the contacts along with them. The second one is there any limitations to the types of systems that an RPA can connect to? So we looked at connecting to a Oracle Fusion instance environment, but are there any limitations that would hold people back? So I guess that's a question for Darval.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you, Peter. So to answer that question, we can connect to any of the system which like as good as the human can do. So it can, RPA can log in through a browser, it can use REST APIs or web services, or even it can even connect to a database and fire SQL service, SQL statement. So the limitations are very less. It can connect to any system and query the data based on the requirements, or write the data based on the requirements and do the transactions.
And that was a similar question for chatbots as well. So again, we showed chatbots connecting to HCM system, Fusion apps. The question is, would we be able to deploy the same solution for e-business suite HR?
So yeah, so similar. So chatbot can connect to your on-premise systems like Oracle Business Suite or any other on-premise systems that you might have. So we have done implementations where chatbot has been connected to SAP on-premise with other ERP systems, legacy ERP systems, or in-house developed ERP system, using either web services or SOAP APIs or REST APIs. So we have done even database based chatbots, so the chatbot can also query the database and give you the results on the chat platform. So there's no limitation again in that case as well. We can do a lot of stuff with chatbots and with any system that you might have.
Okay, and the final question I've got is, we're currently implementing Microsoft Teams. Can we integrate chatbots with that?
Yes, so there is no, as long as the web channels are concerned, chatbots can be integrated with Microsoft Teams. If you have Skype for Business or WhatsApp for WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, or you can even connect to your any other tool that you might have in-house, as long as it supports the web services and calling of web services. So that can be integrated. Even a web page, so your company web page, or any so if, for that matter, Fusion HCM web page or any other ERP system that you might have is a web-based tool. That web page can be embedded with the chatbot.
Okay, I think I've covered all the questions that have come through. Yep. So I'm just going to leave it another 30 seconds in case any more come. But apart from that, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for attending our session today. Hopefully it's been food for thought. And as Tracy said, if you would like a face-to-face meeting with a member of the Evosys team, then please reach out to us. You've got Tracy's contact details at the end of the slide, and we'll be issuing an email to follow up with you guys within the course of the next week or so. So I think that's the last question, and I'll bring the session to an end. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.